конференции. Good morning, dear conference participants. I'm glad to be here to present my small information to you. So after Professor Barmedi's presentation, my presentation would be maybe a little pale, but yeah, it was very brilliant. Thank you. So let me start my presentation with refreshing your knowledge of Abraham Maslow hierarchy of human motivation. So you know that he put creativity in the top of cognitive domain, as motivation and creativity. And the second classification I would like to again remind you is Benjamin Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives, there where he also put creativity or evaluation on the top of these learning objectives. And Anderson and Crowdfall, they revised this taxonomy, and instead of evaluation they put creativity, and they shifted from nouns to verbs. So and it become you see creating, not creativity but creating. So what is creativity? So I gave here some notions what is creativity from different literature, but it is all about new. It is about all novel, but it should be all original and useful. So the base of my presentation is a book of an American professor, Roberta Ness. Probably you read some books of her. She is working at Texas Public Health School. So, and she gave some very good techniques to develop creativity of students. And she gave also so-called requirements or frame of needed skills, learning skills in students. So you see here this frame. They should be independent inquirers, so they should be creative thinkers, reflective learners, team workers, also self-managers, and effective participants. So this list is not full. She proposed as techniques to provoke, to develop creativity in students. So let's start talking of some of them. First is provocative orientation. So we should write a question and ask this question in the right times. So, for example, so we should also develop in students to overcome some habituation. So, for example, the question, cups or assertion, cups should be made of ice. Of course, first reaction, first thought yours will be that ice cups would melt easily in hot climate or in hot air. So, but she asked students to imagine, to answer differently, to find useful aspects of this assertion. Cups should be made of ice. So, and they started to answer, yes, ice cups don't consist of waste. Ice cups will keep our drinks cold. Ice cups are cheap. So this is provocative orientation, just one example of this tool. Second tool is broadening perspectives. Broadening perspectives. Instead of asking how can we make children eat better, yeah, maybe probably better to ask other way. For example, how do agricultural subsidies affect obesity? So this is a broadening perspective, changing the angle on this problem. Third tool is constricting the perspective or dissecting the problem. So clinicians, we use a lot this tool when we do differential diagnosis, when we divide the problem into small parts and describe, see each piece separately. So and she gave example, Professor Ness gave example on crash, vehicle numbers and deaths on the roads. So in USA in 1950s they had around 40 million vehicles, cars, and they had more than 30,000 deaths annually. And of course, if we will consider this problem, so we can start with the problem of how it happened. So of course, engineers, physicists, they will consider gravity center, changing gravity center with velocity, and other engineers will consider durable materials, more safer materials for building cars. Another third engineers will develop belts. So, and we will get down number of deaths, and they achieved, instead of 22 per 100,000, they have now very small number of mortality on the roads. Next tool is changing of your point of view. Don't judge a man until you have walked a mile in his shoes. So these proverbs, of course, initiate imagination. So Einstein, for example, imagined himself as flying with light of speed when he was working on his theory of relativity. And then he, of course, established this theory. Next, Maria Montessori also imagined, put herself in place of a child when she was working on her education material. Darwin also imagined himself as a tree when he was working on his theory of origination of our life on the planet. So, and of course, this tool is also useful for teachers when they give materials, when they ask students. Next tool is inverse assumptions or reversal. So you all know example of Alexander Fleming. Yesterday in one presentation it was mentioned that he you know, of course, knowledge and serenity is a base of happy accidents, and it happened that Alexander Fleming, when he came back from vacation to his laboratory, he noticed a dish with a mold, and he was worked with other microorganisms, and he noticed that this mold stopped growing these microorganisms, and then he started from other point, and of course the result of this was development or invention, not invention, but discovery of penicillin, you know. Next technique, next tool is reorganization, combination, and rearrangement. Yeah, when a student is given, a match, a candle, and some stacks, they, if you ask him to fix a candle to the wall, what he will do? Of course, he will try to fix with a candle or zamstack, but instead of it, we could do next, take out all zamstack from the box, put candles, and fix the box to the wall using zamstack. So this is, of course, rearranging, recombining of our thinking, of our of all we have will lead to maybe inventing new knowledge or new aspect of some phenomena. Analogy. Again, famous old example of Jenner. Yeah, he invented his vaccine but this example is using analogy in teaching. Next, also we all now use internet, the web, and one of the pioneers in inventing internet as a web, World Wide Web, Paul Barham. Also, he did analogy of sending messages through web, like neuronal web. So, and then he invented this. He came to so-called packet switching. So this is also useful tool. And the last tool I would like to present you is sharper observation on the example of Barry Marshall. And you probably know that Barry Marshall is one of the Nobel Prize. Yeah, he got Nobel Prize with with another his colleague on discovery of Campylobacter pylori, and how he discovered. He noticed in gastric ulcer tissue some small white curve, and when he took a sample from this curve and cultivate, he got Campylobacter pylori. But he couldn't prove that Campylobacter cause gastric ulcer for several years. He did experiments on pigs, but it was not successful. And then finally he just drank petri dish full of Campylobacter himself, and he developed gastric ulcer, and then this was a proof of that this microorganism caused gastric ulcer. So, and in conclusion, I would like to stress that creativity and innovation, they are engine of scientific progress, and then of course our medical students should be creative. Our medical doctors should be creative, because we have a lot of challenges we face today, and to solve these challenges, to fight against global health issues, so we should be creative. Thank you.